So, Jim, congrats on the film. I really enjoy Linoleum, and there's so much to unpack about it, and there's so many themes in it. But one of the things that I thought was really wonderful was this, message about not letting your passions be dreams. You obviously went to business school, then you chased a career in entertainment, which has clearly worked out. So, how did that kind of resonate with you for this role?
Yeah, it's that's a great question. I would say that there is something because I also, and that's what I think is so unique about Linoleum is that there's so many different takeaways and so many different themes and questions. But I would also say that I think that there's also, and maybe you are saying this, but I think that like the dreams, like ambition, Cameron's desire to be an astronaut, is that what is fantastic, or is a fulfilling, rich, fulfilling relationship? Is that fantastic? You know what I mean? Is that the measure of a life? You know what I mean? Is a measure of a life um, some kind of passion or dream you had, or is it, do humans, these social beings, is the relationship? I mean, that's one of the questions that, having been to a bunch of screenings, um, consistently comes up, but um, also the price that we might pay for some of these pursuits, you know.
Love the dynamic between you and Rhea Seehorn. What just impressed you the most about just working off of her as a scene partner? Because you share some really great moments.
Yeah, I mean, she is the real deal. I think that the really impressive thing about Ray is um there was a thoroughness to the preparation that was not um there was no selfish intention around it. Like she was very concerned about the arc of the story. So, like, a conversation we kept having is that we didn't want our relationship in the movie. We portray this couple that's there's an impending divorce that's kind of, but we didn't want to portray it as this marriage is dead, because often people that have relationships that don't end, it does that relationships that end, it's not necessarily that all the love is gone. It's just that, like, that's the flaw. The flat-footed response would be there's an absence of caring that exists between these two. But the reality is that in most relationships there is, and where the movie goes, we wanted to serve that. We wanted to make sure that the characters, there was a realism, and every moment or beat was earned, and it wasn't what I call the first bus, which is, nothing against Married with Children, but kind of like that married relationship of just the antipathy between the two participants. It should have some flavors in it.
Yeah, and I feel like it pays off on that so wonderfully at the
Yeah.
end of the movie. And uh, I've just been so impressed with your roles that you've been taking for the past decade. You're doing a lot of challenging work, and I feel like it'd be so easy, and I bet your approach so often to do roles that are more like your stand up and would be much more simple to do. So, how do you kind of choose what projects you undertake? Because I think it's really brave and shows your creativity that you are taking on these types of, projects where you're playing two people.
Yeah, I mean, it is, I mean, thank you, but it is, some of it is, it's more fulfilling to do these complex characters. Some of it is also, I'm doing things that I enjoy consuming myself. Like, I would much rather watch a movie like Linoleum than a broad, silly comedy. That's not to say that, like, doing a broad, silly comedy, romantic comedy, isn't fun. I mean, that is fun, but it's just not as fulfilling as playing the different layers of a relationship, and also, obviously portraying two people in a movie is, that's fun stuff. I mean, that's really, and then, they have a scene where they come together and they kind of interact, that and there's opportunities for humor, but it's also, you're serving a larger journey, and there's larger questions. It's just, I mean, some of it is just selfishly, it's more rewarding for me.
Yeah, it's rewarding as a viewer too. You've put out some really great stuff lately, and one of your earlier appearances I really loved was the Friends song in Flight of the Conchords. I thought that was just such a fun. How was it, working on that show and getting to be a part of one of their music videos?
I mean, that show, I mean, every project is so different, and you're constantly learning. But I remember being a fan of that show, and I do not sing at all, by the way. So when I remember going into the soundstage, and Britt was like, don't worry. And I'm like, look, I can't sing. I don't want to ruin this for you. And he's like, don't worry, we can fix it. But what I would say, what was so interesting about Flight of the Conchords is that there was a script, and the script was fine. And we maybe did it once, and then we improvised the whole thing. And it was, and by the way, it was the same in Portlandia, where, like, I think the script was there because there are some people that can't improvise, but the improv is where you find those really kind of quirky, offbeat things that are fun. And so, Reese is, I mean, obviously those guys are so funny, but Reese is so funny. And so I think that the reason Flight of the Conchords works so well is that they knew that some of the gems were going to be found in improv, and if they and they opened it up to that. And then, of course, there's the layer of, like, the fantastic music, right, which is so foreign to me, that that's just me getting lucky, being able to be in that Friends song.
Yeah,